fists together. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody is somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
It's the Rainbow Push Weekly Town Hall along with Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson. We want to thank you for joining us on all of our platforms this morning. I need you to text, tag, share, like, and comment. Go to www.rainbowpush.org. The push is on. I want you to receive our sounds of freedom.
Good morning to you, yes, even you, wherever you are watching us. Welcome and good morning. Let's begin to sing and start this day off right. Song says this, listen. It says, who am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call? And is it true that you are thinking of me, how you love me? It's amazing. Say, who am I? Yes. That you are mindful of me. Say that you hear me. Say when I call. Come on. And is it true? Oh yes. Is it true that you are thinking of me? Oh, how you love me. Come on, say it's amazing. It's amazing. Come on, say I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. Come on, say I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. Come on, clap your hands, everybody. Wherever you are, say, I am a friend of God. 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 He calls me friend. Song says this. He says, God Almighty, Lord of glory, you have called me friend. Can you say that with us? Say, God Almighty, Lord of glory, you have called me friend. Come on, now find your part. Wherever you are, say, God Almighty, Lord of glory. Can we say it one more time? Everybody say, God Almighty, you are the Lord of glory. And we are friends. Come on, everybody say it. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. Yes, I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. I am a friend of God. Yeah. One more time. Everybody say, I am a friend of God. 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 Last time, say, I am a friend. I am a friend of God. He calls me friend.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us on all of our platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and we want you to subscribe to that channel right now. Go to www.rainbowpush.org and become involved in all that we do. At the top, we want to thank God for the return of one of our most faithful and loyal staff members, leaders, as a part of our executive team, Brother John Mitchell. We want to welcome him back. He has and this week, was his birthday. And so we celebrated his birthday along with the one and only, the incomparable Mrs. Jacqueline Jackson was her birthday. Happy birthday, Mrs. J. And of course, one of our dedicated staff persons, Ms. Davenport, she was working on our team this morning. Happy birthday, Kiasha. We thank God for your life. And all of our members and supporters and our partners, we thank God for you. You know, we remember those who have helped serve and support the work of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. The homegoing services for Josie Childs will be March 23rd. You can go and find out more information about it. It'll be posted on our website, www.rainbowpush.org. We're remembering Thomas Bodie and Otha Nance. We're remembering the father of Livonia Perryman, Alex Franklin Perryman, and of course a longtime staffer with the campaign for Reverend Jesse Jackson, 8488, Kevin Gray. And we want to celebrate their lives. Clap your hands for them. We want to celebrate their lives. You know, we have, Reverend Wilson, an exciting time coming up this Monday and Tuesday in New York for our Wall Street Project, 26th annual Wall Street Project Summit. And this year it is being held, the whole first day is being held at the New York Stock Exchange. And we want to thank Cynthia DiPartola for leading, Stephanie Bostic and Rebecca Cruz, our New York team, for leading in that effort. It is going to be an amazing 2 days. Second day on Tuesday, we'll be at the Riverside, the historic Riverside Church, where Dr. King gave his speech on Vietnam. We'll be there on day 2, but you can find out more. Go to the website, www.rainbowpush.org. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in financial services, if you're in economic services, you are a business person, listen, this is a phenomenal opportunity for you, and we still have an opportunity for you to be engaged as a sponsor and a registrant. Go to www.rainbowpush.org this Monday and Tuesday in New York City at the New York Stock Exchange right there on Wall Street. Reverend Jackson, we are proud of you, and you have done an amazing job at making sure black economics stays on the forefront of our national agenda. Let's thank God for Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. This is International Women's Month. It's all the ladies say International Women's Month. And we're celebrating women all month, and next Saturday we'll be dedicating the entire day to celebrating women. Reverend Jeanette Wilson and Betty Magnus will be leading that up, and you want to be part of that, an amazing breakfast that morning. We want to thank you for your support of what we're doing as we're giving esteem, honor, and recognition to women of all walks. And of course, we are in a electoral season. April 4th is the mayor's runoff primary, and Reverend Wilson, yesterday was quite a day here. Matter of fact, every day this week there was something related to this election with a number of endorsements. Yes. But at the top was the endorsement of Reverend Jesse Jackson, of Brandon Johnson. Yeah. Talk now about the importance, polls don't vote and endorsements don't either, but they make a big difference in engagement and turnout.
Well, first of all, I want to say I am so excited that a new Jack and Jill chapter, the students are here. The great-granddaughter of Mother Consuelo York is one of the organizing members of this chapter, and so I want us to welcome Jack and Jill's in the house. Give yourselves a round of applause. And today, Bishop, they're going to do a mock election so that they can learn at an early age what it means to be a citizen and why voting is so important. Well, this week, there were several rallies and meetings in support of Brandon Johnson. COCO, Kenwood Oakland Community Organization, founded by Reverend Jackson, who was their first executive director, was here, and it was just really powerful to see the diversity in the room, intergenerational people gathered to support the candidacy of Brandon Johnson. And so, as a surprise, the Reverend Jesse Jackson, as he always does, surprises, he endorsed Brandon Johnson to be the next mayor of the city of Chicago. And I think what we have to really do in this election, unlike what we failed to do in the primary, we have to turn out. Turnout matters. Polls don't matter. Endorsements mean something, but voting really matters.
Well, you look at this week, Bernie Sanders endorsed
Elizabeth Warren.
Elizabeth Warren endorsed Congressman Chewy.
Did he endorse yet?
He endorsed on yesterday.
All
So
right.
again, this race is becoming nationalized in more ways than one.
But this is very similar in terms of the national view of Chicago. When late Mayor Harold Washington ran, the whole world was watching Chicago because it was our first. And when we kicked off in Chicago, black mayors were elected all around the nation, as you know. It was an energizing force. This election is critical because we see a challenge now between how do you view safety? Everybody's talking about it's just so unsafe in Chicago. Well, it's not any different than many cities around the nation.
Urban centers have been impacted by the pandemic, by inflation.
Well, and it's the fact that there's an increase in poverty, which increases our uncertainty about our communities. People are not going to be hungry and broke and watch you eat every day. And so there is this lack of investment in particularly black communities. We know the 9 communities in Chicago that are most unsafe. There's violence every day, shootings every day, carjackings every day. What is alarming now is that it has spread to North Loop, the Magnificent Mile, and so people are more concerned. But safety is not the biggest issue, it's investment. You have to invest in communities. It's education. You have to make sure that children are getting high quality education. It's not 9 to 5, it's after 5. Many of these children have parents who are incarcerated, and so they are latchkey kids.
Well, when we look at,
in the meantime,
when we look at the turnout, and you talk about endorsements and such, 32% is not where we need to be in terms of our potential. And we look at the Safety Act is now back on the potential chopping block in terms of people who want to roll it back or curtail it to some extent. Black vote and brown vote could make a huge difference on April 4th.
Well, here's the thing. Everybody watched January 6th, and you saw that was in Washington, that was at the Capitol. Those very same people are on police forces all over this country, just as the Klan was back in the day. And so you have to understand, they're wearing the blue, but they're not for you. And the only way you can change conditions, and all police are not bad, the only way you can change conditions, you got to vote about it. I started looking at all these boards and commissions. There are 100 boards and commissions in Chicago. Let's talk about it. Medical district board, one of the boards appointed by the mayor. Metropolitan Pier Authority, everything that happens in Navy Pier, there's a board appointed by the mayor. Park district, the reason our parks look the way they do, because we never headed the park district. I'm talking about African Americans. You put some African Americans on that park district board, we can open these parks at night with real programs. I know I'm getting passionate now. The planning commission. You wonder why your neighborhood looks the way it does. You ain't on the planning commission. You got to be able to plan for the future. Police board. Worried about all the safety and violence. Who's on the police board? Public building. All these buildings that are being built. Public safety board. Sister cities. I want more African countries to be sister cities. I know we have one, Ghana. Okay, zoning board. Sometimes our stuff, we got more liquor stores in our community than any other community. We need to zone them out. Y'all can say amen if you want to. World Business Chicago, that's money. Workforce, I didn't even know they had some of these. Workforce innovation. CTA, everybody talking about CTA is not safe. Who's on the CTA board? We never see these people. I don't know their names. Sports Commission. I want to be on the Sports Facilities Board. And wait a minute, some of y'all don't know. They pay people to be on these boards. Cable Commission, that's a board. They get paid to sit there and do nothing. I shouldn't say that. Urban Opportunity Board, Chicago Public Schools, and we're going to have an elected school board. We don't want to sleep it like we did the police districts, so we got to wake up and be prepared. Procurement. Do you know how much money, you know how much you got on that paper over there, how much money we have in the city of Chicago that we're not getting because we're not on these boards and commissions. We're not even upset about it. I found out there's a board of inspections and permitting. I want to know who's inspecting these buildings where the porches fall in our communities and never get fixed. Planning Commission, Streets and Sand. Now, you do know there are three departments that have been controlled by one ethnic group in this city. Streets and Sand, y'all can, Police and Fire. 3, Police and Fire. Well, black homes burn, and we have black firefighters, and I thank God we have one black commissioner, but we want to make sure that we're in the Public Safety Board and Commission.
So what we're talking about, Reverend Wilson, is governance.
Yeah.
We're talking about, beyond the most people who are involved in politics, Judge Bush, don't know that the politics don't start and stop at the 5th floor. It builds out, and we're talking about governance. So when we talk about automatic races, we talk about judges, we talk about boards and commissions, it's important that you know as a person that is interested in the quality of life in Chicago and anywhere around the country, that you know these various boards. This is why we see school boards being attended now to contend with curriculum and hiring and such. And we've not always gone as far as we should as it relates to governance, being a part of the entire process. And that's really been what Reverend Jackson has really put out as a template of building a more equitable process of inclusion and involvement.
So that's why. You want to say, why should you vote? Because the mayor appoints people to these boards and commissions. CTA, they get paid. CTA, RTA, the governor and the mayor appoint people to that commission. Ethics, which we seem to have none of. Cultural affairs, and these events that you see in the city, the Taste of Chicago. There's somebody that gets paid to plan those events. There's a board for that. Mental health, health commission, human relations. When you see the level of racist behavior in the city, there's a human relations commission. Who's on the commission? Oh, we don't have to worry now because we're going to have a new mayor, and the first thing we're going to do is sit down. We want to know, we want to recommend appointments to the boards and commissions. Remember, I want to be on the sports authority.
Sound like you said cut us in and cut it out.
Cut us in and cut out, because we're going to start going to the city council meetings, a whole new city council, and everybody's saying, I just don't know how they're going to behave. I know how they're going to behave because we're going to go down to city council and watch them and say, our eyes are on you. We have to attend these meetings. Now, I say all of that because the mayor has a lot of power. The mayor controls a lot of money. The mayor controls a lot of things in the city. And the aldermen have power. We're electing 15 new, is it 15?
16.
16 new aldermen in the city. That's like 1/3, isn't it, of the city will be new. So it's going to be a very different city. And you can't sit at home kicking the television, fussing at your remote, and mad at everybody. You got to get out and vote. And the way we're going to make it easy for you, preachers, every pastor can get a bus from your church, because I know you don't have Uber money, and you can't figure out how to get to the other thing, and so we're going to just bus you so you can vote. We're going to vote starting Monday. Monday, the 20th.
Tomorrow is early voting in Chicago, in Cook County, and our neighboring state in Wisconsin, they are in a very heated election as it relates to Supreme Court justice. So, churches all over the region starting tomorrow are taking souls to the polls. And you can go to our website, www.rainbowpush.org, and go to the event section, and you pull down Souls to the Polls. We'll direct you to the area and the coordinator where you can get all from March 20th all the way to Election Day. We will be a part of this regional organization mobilization of getting people to the polls. It is amazing. I mean, absolutely amazing watching Reverend Jackson yesterday. But as active as he wants to be, he is in making sure that, listen, there's no single individual has done what he's done in terms of registering 6 million people. I think somebody ought to celebrate that. Amen. 6 million people. You ought to clap your hands for that. And he's still doing it today. And so you can go to 773, Freedom on your dial, and somebody's putting up 7 million, and somebody, maybe we're adding 1 million, so we'll take it up to 7 million. But it's so important that you are engaged, involved, and informed in what we're doing. You know, Reverend Wilson, when we look at the value, because there's no greater office in the democracy higher than that of the voter. And this year we're focused on millennial voters, which have a lot to say but don't always turn out. We're focusing on the traditional voting in making sure that traditional voters, which are seniors, have access by transportation and mobility to the poll place, and then knowing where the polls are, because a number of precincts have changed and locations have changed. So being informed is real critical to turnout this time.
So here's the thing. I don't want y'all to get upset and get confused. We will be answering the phone at push. Just dial freedom. I know you can't. You can spell freedom. F-R-E-E-D-O-M. 773 freedom. Somebody will answer the phone. You say, I went to the poll and they said I couldn't vote. Call us. We have lawyers who will, if necessary, go to the poll and make sure that you can vote. We don't want you to get frustrated. Don't leave the polling place. We want
Stay
everybody
right there.
that can vote tomorrow. Because you know the weather
Early
in Chicago changes every day.
It's
like today is
it's
freezing.
cold today.
It's cold today, so go and vote tomorrow or the next day. Vote this week. Election day is April the 4th. Now, if you haven't voted by April the 4th, don't be discouraged. That is a significant day in history. The man that I think Dr. King did the most of any person for our right to vote. When I think about, people say, well, somebody died for your right to vote. It wasn't just that they died. When I went to Selma, I had never been to Selma years ago. I went to Selma. I was amazed that people would walk 60 miles on a country road and face water hoses and police, I should say sheriff's police, on horseback, trying to keep them from getting from Selma to Montgomery because they were simply marching, praying all the way for the right to vote. Now, I just had to figure if people had that kind of strength, and it was old and young, it wasn't just all old people. Like y'all say, you old people vote because y'all have nothing else to do. We vote because we got good sense, not because we have nothing else to do.
And a moral responsibility.
We have a responsibility. Baby boomers are going to vote. I know you're going to vote. But it's the rest of you that have to vote. You're voting for your president. If you have children, you got to vote for the mayor that you think is going to give your child the best education possible in public school. We fought for years when we could not go to school. There was a time, and you from Tennessee, Bishop, where when we got books in our little one-room schoolhouse, they were the books that the white schools had torn up, used. Half the chapter would be gone, but we had to try to learn from inadequate resources. So when I think about voting, I think about those little one-room schoolhouses, 8 grades, like in this room here, 8 grades in one little church room with inadequate resources, and yet we produce great people. We produce lawyers and doctors and all kinds of business people because we fought for that. We fought for education. We fought for the right to have hospitals to treat us. I was born in a house because I could not be born in a hospital except that my mother would have to deliver in the basement in Tennessee and all across this country. So voting is important to me. When I looked at these boards and commission and I see the Board of Health, there were times when we couldn't be on the Board of Health. There were times when we couldn't buy property in this city. Right across the street from Push, there was a restrictive covenant running on the land where we couldn't even buy the house if we had the money. there were contract buyers leagues and Buy Fear Ready. You know, we had to fight for that. So when I think about voting, I think about not the people that died, the people that fought for me and you and everybody to get to where we are. We can't just turn this around and say, I don't feel it. Yeah, you better feel it because it's your life. If you are 18, your whole future depends on your voting for the next 4 years.
Well, you know, when we look at, you know, you talk about Selma. Last year, we marched all 40 miles from Selma to Montgomery, and to see the mile markers and to see where they set up camps.
Because they couldn't go to hotels.
Couldn't they go to hotels, could not take the risk of marching through the night because there were snipers, there were people who were drive down the highway. It is still a 2-lane highway from Selma to Montgomery.
With no lights.
And no lights. And to walk that path from Selma to Montgomery was amazing in terms of the gravity of knowing that Dr. King and others literally put their lives on the line, and many people lost their lives attempting to cross the Edmund Pettus Bridge. This is a special edition. Put your hands together. This is a great encounter. This is a special edition of the Saturday morning Town Hall. We're actually live on WVON 1690 here in Chicago, and on Facebook, YouTube, and on all of our social media platforms. And you can join the fastest growing social justice civil rights army on the planet. And you can help Reverend Jesse Jackson right now. You can text the word PUSH to 41444. At the bottom of the screen are any number of means by which you can give, including mobile banking. You can dial that number right now, 773-FREEDOM on your dial, and let Reverend Jackson know that you want one of these pins to put on your lapel, on your coat, and wear it proudly as a member and a partner of the Rainbow Push Coalition. I want you to hear from the sounds of freedom. Put your hands together for them right now.
Can I get y'all to clap your hands with us all over the building? Even you at home, can I get you to clap your hands? Come on. Everybody clap your hands, come on. Song says this. Who opens doors that eyes cannot see? Jesus will. Oh, Jesus will. Oh, who will make all my decisions for me? Jesus will. Hey, Jesus will. Come on, can you say, when I'm in trouble, say,
when I'm in trouble, He gives me a song.
In the night season, say, who makes me do right?
Who makes me do right?
When I would do wrong. Jesus will. Come on, can I get you to clap your hands, everybody? Help us sing, Jesus will. Come on, everybody. Everybody say, oh yes. Come on, clap your hands, everybody. If you know it, help us sing it. Jesus will. I know He will because He said He will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Jesus will.
Jesus will.
I know He will.
I know He will.
He said He will.
He said He will.
He'll fight my battle.
He'll fight my battle.
If I keep still.
If I keep still.
If I keep still. We're going to go up one. Hey, everybody say, oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, clap your hands. Everybody say, Jesus will.
Jesus will.
I know He will because he said he will.
Oh,
Come on.
yeah.
Hey, Jesus will.
Jesus will.
I know he will.
I know he will.
He said he will.
He said he will.
He'll fight my battle
He'll fight my battle.
if I keep still.
If I keep still.
If I keep still.
I know that he will.
That's how. Everybody say, Jesus will.
Jesus will.
Clap your hands if you believe it.
Well, you are a part of the Saturday morning Rainbow Push Town Hall. And if you want to be engaged, involved, and be enlisted in this opportunity to move this agenda forward, go to www.rainbowpush.org and don't forget to text the word PUSH to 41444. March 20th and the 21st, this coming Monday and Tuesday, we will be in the 26th annual Wall Street Project in New York City. This is an annual conference that Reverend Jackson has started, and this year, unprecedentedly, we're going to be at the New York Stock Exchange the entire day on Monday, and it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity for business, for engagement, for connectivity, and for the opportunity for you as an individual and or a corporation to be engaged in this phenomenal template that Reverend Jackson has put forward to make sure that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not forgotten about as relates to bringing about fairness in the economy. And so you want to be a registrant, you want to be a sponsor, you want to be a supporter, go to rainbowpush.org right now. Call us right now. Operators are waiting to hit your call, 773-FREEDOM on your dial. You know, Reverend Wilson, this week we saw several banks collapse, SVB in Silicon Valley. We saw banks rescued, and yet people are concerned about their accounts. Businesses are concerned about whether or not they can make payroll. And then there's this whole idea about credit. When we look at black and brown communities that even prior to the pandemic had such a influx of unemployment, persons being uninsured, et cetera. We've lost 400,000 black businesses since the pandemic, and none of which have recovered and created a great void in the black and brown middle class. Let's talk about that, because access to wealth, wealth creation, wealth building is really the remedy. It is part of that reparations proposition that people like to talk about, but it's really about the remedy of us being able to recapitalize and rebuild our own communities.
Well, one of the things, the bank collapse in Silicon Valley was because they're unregulated in part. They operate independent of the financial authorities of the nation.
FDIC.
Yeah, FDIC. They're not guaranteed. Those people who make deposits, the deposits are not guaranteed as they are in the banks that most of us put our money in. So don't go start putting your money in the mattress. I know what you're thinking. I got to get my money out. And the other thing is Silicon Valley, some of those deposits were based on crypto. You may have heard of cryptocurrency, and so it's not real money. You don't know where the money went. You don't know where it came from, and so those are some of the deposits in those Silicon Valley, because it's a high-tech area, and many of the small businesses that operate out of the Silicon Valley, like Etsy, they're having trouble now processing credit card payments because it's not the typical bank that we're accustomed to, that the government monitors and guarantees. So stay with the traditional banks for now. I'm not a banker, but I just don't know why we got to bail out the banks and you can't bail out ordinary people.
When you look at the
number,
there's 7 million unbanked persons.
Yeah, they're using currency exchanges.
And there's 14 million.
Lending.
Yeah, there are 14 million that use mobile banking now, juxtaposed to traditional banking, and this has become a norm since the pandemic, mobile banking. But people don't know mobile banking is not the same as being able to reinvest, get a line of credit, be able to monetize a business, all you're doing is transferring money. That money is not working for you. And what we saw in Silicon Valley were these high-tech firms investing in their money in these banks. You go over $250,000, and that's where you're in a lot of trouble in terms of your money being insured and protected, but you have your money caught up in their money. It's called, I think it's a term called commingling. That money is together.
So those young people who are sitting here, y'all heard of crypto? Raise your hand. Well, it's not a certain area right now.
Yeah.
It is a new technology that it's opening up, and the country is really trying to move us towards paperless money so that you never see the money anymore. We're not there yet, so don't put your money in those Silicon Valley banks. That's all I can tell you. And you know what Bishop is talking about, these you have a lot of startup businesses. We don't get credit, and you certainly couldn't get credit out there in the Valley banks, Silicon Valley banks. So banking is something that they will be looking at in great detail at the Wall Street conference. So if you're in a business, you need to go to Wall Street so you can understand what is happening in this finance industry, financial services industry. And we're going to have copies of, we're going to get videos?
Absolutely.
So we're going to show you in coming weeks what happened at the Wall Street conference. Wall Street is where we were sold. And for us to now be not being traded on Wall Street as a commodity, to be on Wall Street having seats on the New York Stock Exchange is a big deal. Black people were sold on Wall Street. I mean, they put us up on the stand just like we were horses and cows, and people bid on us, and our value went up and down on Wall Street. So for Reverend Jackson to have us now at the New York Stock Exchange for a whole day, that's an amazing feat. It is just, I know our ancestors are looking down from heaven saying, look what God has done.
It is the center of global banking. You know, when we talk about access to affordable credit, which is a gateway to wealth building and wealth exchange and investments and long-term financial stability, one of the challenges we have is we can get to the table, but oftentimes we can't stay at the table because we don't have the financial stability. And so this year, Reverend Jackson is really going to be focusing on that. This whole idea of wealth building and wealth creation. The average African-American family has about $23,000. Now, wealth is what you own minus what you owe. So there are a lot of people that claim that they own stuff, but if you still owe on it, you don't own it. Let me back that thing up and shake it fast. If you still owe on it, you don't own it. So you still have a car note.
If I'm
you
paying
don't
for
own
the
it.
car.
Yeah, you still paying for it.
Car.
It's not your car. It's GMAC's car. It's Chrysler Credit's car. It's it's the financial service that backed the loan. It's their car. If you don't have the title and deed to the home, and you have a mortgage, you're not a home owner just yet. And so the challenge that we have this year is educating and realizing what is wealth, how do you obtain it, and how do you create sustainability with wealth, realizing that so much wealth is held by so few people, and you cannot, even when it comes to education and it comes to qualification, our greatest fight has been sustainability. That's what we're focusing on. So when we look at banks that are closing and look at various industries that are bailed out and realize at the end of the day, we've lost more black wealth in the past 40 years than we gained prior to, simply because we didn't have the measures of sustainability. This year at Wall Street, and because of the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson, we're going to make a difference in the lives of people, and you ought to celebrate Reverend Jesse Jackson for doing this phenomenal work. Because college graduates associated with this is Reverend Jackson's attention to college loan debt. Debt is a disease in our economy that fuels poverty on levels because, Reverend Wilson, there's something called the working poor. And these are individuals who are really just trying to sustain a household week to week and month to month until things get better. And oftentimes they never do, and they get caught in the cycle and the trap of poverty that becomes generational. And we talk about occupational mobility. When you cannot earn more, you cannot do more because you're not making more. And Reverend Jackson is tying these two together. College loan debt, and we'll be talking on Monday to those who are servicing these loans because, you know, like people like to say crime doesn't pay. Well, you look at some of these communities where they have boot camps and they have minimum security facilities for corrections, their jobs, their procurements. Reverend Wilson just went over a list of boards, et cetera. There's a tax base that's created from those who are incarcerated in those areas. And so there's someone who services the debt. They service the loan. They make sure you get the payment. They represent the institution that you owe the money to. That is a huge $14 billion industry. Reverend Jackson is going after them to make sure they do their share, and we're, as we said earlier, either cut us in or cut it out.
Yeah, and so if you have student loan debt, and I know so many young people wonder why they're not getting married. It's not an ethical reason. It is a financial reason.
Can't afford it.
You know, married debt. They ought to have a show on there, Married to Debt. They got married to legal, married to medicine. No, you're married to debt. Many people, if you've gone to medical school or law school, they're graduating $200,000 in debt. And so that becomes an issue. It's going to be addressed on Wall Street, and then when they come back, everybody that has student loan debt that lives in or around Chicago area, we want to talk about what can you do about your debt. You know you can't pay it off right now, so you got to fight and push the United States House of Representatives, the United States Senate, to do something about passing Student Loan Forgiveness Act. They're going to forgive those banks in Silicon Valley. They're going to erase that debt. They ought to be able to erase student loan debt. If you have student loan debt and you want to help us fight that fight, join us on April 1st here at PUSH. We're going to be challenging you. You can't just sit at home and be mad. I can't find no job. I'm not making what I should, and be frustrated. You can fight about it. You have people in Congress, they can pass the Student Loan Forgiveness Act. It's not hard. They just got to vote about it, and you got to push them to vote. Every one of you have a congressional representative. You have 2 senators from your state. We're going to be pushing them to change the policies that impact us negatively. Young people from Jack and Jill, y'all stand up. Jack and Jill, stand.
Let's celebrate them. One of our most committed partners as a part of Push Excel and the work of Reverend Jesse Jackson and Dr. Jeanette Wilson. Let's celebrate them one more time. I want to thank you so very much.
I want you to meet Mother Consuelo York's granddaughter who helped to start this Jack and Jill chapter. Where is she? Stand up too. All the parents, won't you stand up? We're so glad that they joined us today. Bishop, you have to go down because they're going to be voting.
They're going to be voting.
They're voting.
They got a mock election going on today.
A mock election going on at PUSH.
And we are building the next generation.
This is the next generation. Parents, where are you? Wave your hand. So grateful
Jack
to
and
have
Jill,
you.
we want to thank you for your partnership. You've been so amazing in supporting us. You know, when we talk, you may be seated. When we talk about wealth, you know, the average black and brown family has about $24,000 of wealth compared to almost $170,000 for white and non-ethnic families. This is a really big deal when we talk about Wall Street and our Wall Street project, talking about narrowing that gap, and it starts with education. And so when we talk about student loan debt, the best way to start building wealth is to eliminate debt. I'll try that one more time. The best way to build wealth is to eliminate debt. The more you own, and we're trying to change a generation by bringing them out of debt into being owners. So being a homeowner, owning your automobile, narrowing your debt-income ratio is a phenomenal means of having economic stability, and it is really core and key to your independence and your freedom. The more you control as it relates to your money, the more you control as it relates to your future.
So that's why we're going to have financial literacy classes at Push Excel. So many college students sign up for credit cards. You don't need a credit card in college. I don't care whether y'all say amen or not. You don't need a credit card in college. You don't need debt in college. Hey, young man,
Get in, gives you
just
enough
get
debt.
in and get out. Eat on campus. You don't have to go off campus. The food isn't great, graduate sooner, because it's not going to get better. So you try to double up your classes, but you need to get out. We're going to have some financial literacy classes, teaching investment, talking about all young people wear all of these name brand clothes. If they're not paying you to wear the brand, then don't wear it. You can't even get a job at some of these brands that you're wearing. So we're going to be talking about that, so you at least buy stock. And so when they say next year we go to the New York Stock Exchange, you're going to go and watch your stocks go up because you will have invested in them. And we want to teach that at an early age. The other thing is next week, women, we're going to take over here. I want 100 women to meet me here next Saturday. It's we're having breakfast, so you have to come early. Unsung sheroes. Why are they unsung? Because nobody knows how much they're doing. Some people visit the sick, you never know of, but they send cards, they do all kinds of creative things. So you're going to meet some unsung women. We're going to start honoring women at least once a month so that you'll know their names. There are a lot of people doing some great things, and we need to know who they are, and we want to celebrate women next Saturday here at Rainbow Push on the 26th, right here at Rainbow Push. And then on the 1st, we got a Swedish choir coming. It'll be the last Saturday before the election. I guess you're doing Get Out the Vote.
We are doing, and let me tell you something. We're going to be celebrating Reverend Jeanette Wilson next Saturday as well. I'm very serious about that.
No, we're not.
We're going to work out. She's got a Jacqueline Jackson. Miss Jackson won't let us celebrate.
Oh.
You're going to let us celebrate you. We have women all throughout our organization and our community, and she talks about unsung women who do phenomenal. Dr. Carol Adams will be speaking at our breakfast next Saturday.
Yep.
We have some amazing women who have done some phenomenal things. And as International Women's Month, where would we be had it not been for? I was in one of our offices, and
Reverend
I saw Reverend Willie. I saw the sign.
Reverend Willie
the
Taplin
name of the
Barrow
street after Reverend Willie Taplin Barrow. What a legacy she's left.
They should name the damn
Lucille
Ryan after
Lohman.
her.
We talk about Lucille Lohman.
Yeah.
We talk about, just
Dolores
the list.
Elliott.
Oh my gosh.
And in here, Mary Tribune, who fluctuates between black men pushing because she coordinates them. A volunteer, Brenda Morgan, who's been faithful to that choir from the beginning and never gives up. Smiley, Black Men Pushing, and so
Betty
many
Magnus.
others. Betty. Betty's like a fixture here. Where did Betty go? Betty's
Somewhere
here.
working.
Yes. You think of Chinta Strasberg. I remember when Chinta took the bus to cover the black community, and literally she covered the whole city on public transportation. When I think of Reverend Mother Consuela York, who had her church late on Sunday so she could go to the prison and visit inmates, especially at county jail. And I want those brothers and sisters to know, if you have not been convicted, you can vote.
Mother Helen Sinclair.
Reverend Mother Sinclair. But her mother, Jessie Ma Houston, who started this whole prison ministry, was just amazing women. And so we want to remember them on next Saturday, but also lift up churches, and people are nominating women. If you want to nominate a woman, let us know, but you got to tell us by Monday. There are so many women that do some amazing things. We want to at least acknowledge them next Saturday.
This is a special edition, put your hands together, of the Saturday morning Town Hall. We are live on WVON 1690 and all of our social media platforms. And you can join right now by texting the word PUSH to 41444, or you can go to www.rainbowpush.org. Those of you in person, you can give in person. Go to that QR code or take one of these envelopes and become a member today. $35 $15 for students and seniors. It goes a long way to making the work that we do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can call that number or you can hit us on the World Wide Web, and guess what? You will indeed get an answer. Again, I want to invite you to be a part of the Wall Street Project. Monday and Tuesday of this week, March 20th and 21st, you can go to www.rainbowpush and pull down the agenda and the schedule and meet Reverend Jackson at the New York Stock Exchange on Monday and the historic Riverside Church in New York City on Tuesday. Don't forget International Women's Saturday, next Saturday, and you can draw down the PDF of our upcoming calendar for all of the events and activities that are happening. Please get out and vote. Here in Chicago, Monday is the start of early voting, and you can start voting. You can, let's see, what are we doing? You can vote every weekday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Sundays, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Election Day, 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can go to chicagoelections.gov and get more information. Thank you, Jack and Jill, for being our guests on today. Every parent and every coordinator, we want to thank you so very much. And our faithful partners, we certainly are thankful to have Attorney Bob Fioretti being with us, former alderman here in the city of Chicago, incredible leader, and all of our guests. Listen, I want you to make sure that you help us do one thing. Remember that you are somebody, and we want to thank you for helping us keep hope alive. Let's hear from the sounds of freedom. Thank you so very much. Have an incredible weekend, and thank you for helping us keep hope alive.
We sing the praises to our King, for he is the King of kings. Sing the praises to our King, for he's the King of kings. We sing the praises to our King, for he is the King of kings. We sing the praises to our King, for he's the King of kings. Give him glory, for he's the King of kings. Give him glory, for he's the King of kings. Give him glory, for he's the King of kings. Give him glory, for he's the King of kings. Sing the praises to our King, for he is the King of kings. We sing the praises to our King, for he's the King of kings. We sing the praises to our King, for he is the King of kings. We sing the praises to our King, for he's the King. Come on, everybody say, give him glory.
Give him glory.
For he's the King.
For he's the King of
Give him glory.
Give him glory.
For he's the King.
For he's the King of
Give him glory.
Give him
Yeah.
glory.
For he's
the King of
Give him glory. For he's, come on, take it up.
For he's the King.
Give him glory.
Give him glory.
For he's the King.
For he's the King of
Give him glory. For he's
the King of
Give him glory. Yeah. For he's
the King of
he's the King. Come on, everybody say, oh, hail.
Oh, hail King Jesus.
Oh. Come on, everybody clap your hands with us. Can you clap your hands at home? Oh, hail Emmanuel.
Oh, hail Emmanuel.
Well, come on, let's sing it all the way out. Everybody, let's sing this together. Everybody say, he reigns.
He reigns forever.
He reigns. Yes, he reigns. Forevermore.
And ever.
Say he reigns. Yes, he reigns. Over my home. Over my community. Say he reigns. Over my family. Over my finances. Yes, he reigns. Let's shout and say, oh, hail. King Jesus.
Well, we want to thank you so very much for being a part. I want to thank Bathsheba Draper for being our organizer for next Saturday, and you as our guest on this Saturday. Look to see you again next Saturday, 10 a.m. right here, WVON 1690, Facebook, YouTube, and www.rainbowpush.org. Thank you, and keep hope alive.